Hey everybody, it's Cherry Bong. I hope you guys have, well actually, I've had a huge and very warm reception upon returning, and I'm so glad. There were so many comments in the last video. And now we're back with another game of the GSC Invitational. Believe it or not, we're in the loser's bracket. And, well, it's time for me to introduce these players. Sometimes I don't always have the chance. We have, hailing from France, Zokuru, who has played a long time in SPL. I will pull up the spreadsheet record later, or you will probably be seeing it right now. Yeah, just long time SPL runner. Not much to say about that. Played probably one of the tougher opponents, and a huge innovator when it comes to team building. He is very well known for having the most diabolically evil stall teams, but he is also very good at offense. Meantime, on the other hand, on the opposite end, we do have Iguana, also known as MC56556, or just MC numbers, and he has also played in SPL. He is not a mainstay, but he is constantly highly played, like just placing very highly in tournaments. Intervening here because I realized that I made a huge error in stating that Iguana was an SPL player, but I was so convinced of this for so long that I only realized once I decided to look up his score in SPL, only to realize that there was nothing there. There was no score. He wasn't on the spreadsheet, and I apologize for that. Still, he's a great player, so this will be fun to watch. So you have a very efficient and methodical player versus the very rogue style players. So this is definitely going to be a banger. And I took the liberty of, I took an evening off to commentate this, and I even took notes. So you don't have to go through all of these turns, because this one is a long one, folks. All right. Remember that you can donate. I'm going to leave a link in the description of all videos hereafter. In the meantime, I'm cooking, so we can get some things done. Kill two birds with one stone. Remember, you can donate and support the legacy. The prize pool is already bigger than it has ever been. And if you do like these videos, please subscribe. I appreciate it. I do have some other ideas for videos coming out. Okay. Sorry for the long intro. I'll try and make up for lost time. We have Lax on Lax, and turn one. Turn one, we see a defense curl from Zokuru. That can only mean one thing. Rollout. So Rollout Snorlax is very, very scary. But to have it in the lead position, I mean, it's just, to say that this thing is used even 0.1% of the time would be a stretch. Like, this is just hardly ever seen, ever. So, Iguana goes for a double edge, and we see Toxic turn two. So, Defense Curl and Toxic, like, why not Curse? Because Curse would boost attack, but the one thing that's interesting is that, aside from having more PP, a lot more PP, it's 61, Defense Curl only boosts defense, it doesn't lower speed, and it doubles the initial power of Rollout. I know I'm spoiling, but I mean, this is pretty much a known fact. And we see yet another double edge. So what is Iguana trying to achieve, right? I think that Toxic from Zokuru is interesting, because while Iguana wants to try and break this Lax, maybe force an early rest, we don't really know what either of these players' teams are like. Like, do we know that they have spikes? Does Iguana have spikes? Does he have a Gengar to answer this, the double edge, or a Steelix, or something? But the other interesting thing is that we've seen all these double edges, and Zokuru hasn't attacked yet, but Iguana's losing all of his health. All of this health right here. Snorlax is barely surviving. And look at that. Now Iguana's going to be forced to rest on the next turn too. So what are we going to see? What awaits us in the next turn? Iguana doesn't feel threatened, but as of yet. He's staying in. But Zokuru's Snorlax is going to wake up first. He goes for another defense curl, interestingly enough. Now, Iguana decides to switch to Zapdos because he doesn't feel threatened, like we said. Considering that Zapdos is a sleep talker, and we saw, or probably is, and we saw Toxic from Snorlax. We also know that from the first turn, Snorlax isn't going to be doing a lot of damage. So it should, on paper at least, be safe to switch to Zapdos and force some damage here. But we see the rollout. He has to immediately react to that. He goes to his Skarmory, and lo and behold, Defense Curl, Toxic Rest, Rollout, no stab on Snorlax to be seen. Depending on a matchup, we see some kind of stall on Iguana's team, and Zapdos and Skarmory either pair with another Raikou or something like that, or a Blissey. And there might be a Golem in the back, something with which to counter that rollout, but there's a risk coming also from the fact that this Snorlax has Toxic. It's too soon to tell, but he's going to his Skarmory, and he has to use Whirlwind. He has to. Because even though there's no attack boost, as the power doubles and doubles and doubles, the damage really starts to rack up. And look at that. Already 46% taken away in one hit. So the issue with phasers is they go second. So this stacking up of power is a big deal. Blissey is revealed. So Zokuru also has a stall team, and they both have some form of fat team, right? A fat stall build in the sense that it's more passive, bulkier, but not necessarily as technically inclined. And we see a belly drum. So that's also really interesting. Huge, in fact, it's a huge turn because it looks as though Zoke doesn't quite see this coming, right? And it's huge also because belly drum isn't typically paired with double edge because of all the damage you're dealing. You don't want to take upwards of 20% recoil each time you hit something. Usually it's paired with return, which has pretty high base power, and sometimes body slam. Zoke has to react here. One double edge, one defense curl is not going to cut it. So it's kind of analogous to that first rollout. We're very likely going to see something come in here. I mean, my money is that it's on, my money is on Skarmory coming in next turn or so. Yeah. But because of how quickly it all happened, this Skarmory cannot click Whirlwind here. There's too many attack boosts. If Skarmory clicks Curse, it's just going to be slower the next turn, and that's also not going to work. So it's not going to amount to anything. The only course of action right now is to either attack or Toxic. He's going to let the Skarmory go. Already on turn 17. So that's the power of double edge here, breaking the Skarm. But we do see a D-Knight, and it's going to be a Haze Dragonite, which is really interesting. I've seen Zoke use this before. It is absolutely diabolical. It's one of the few Mons, though, whose moveset is able to no-diff Snorlax. If you can't rely on a phaser, just use a hazer. For the record, for those that don't know, phase stands for pseudo-haze. So, because haze is just that good, but it's so rare. Turn 20. We're seeing another defense curl, but Iguana is fast to go to Skarmory. And he's going to click Whirlwind, and Umbreon on Zokuru's team is revealed. We won't see just yet what it's about to do, but Iguana's diligent. He is going to scout. He's going to try and see what that last one is by clicking Whirlwind, and there it is. So, Starmie. But we haven't seen a Spiker just yet. And we're going to see another defense curl. The fact that the Snorlax on Iguana's team is asleep means there's a window of opportunity for Snorlax on Zokuru's end to come in and get a little bit of momentum. Now he's in on a Blissey, which is also really passive. So he could defense curl, or, you know, he's actually, this is really risky because clicking Rollout, he's locked in on this move, and he has to hope either that he kills something quickly or that he eventually misses, because staying in like that all the time means that the Snorlax can die to Toxic. Umbreon's going to come in, and look at how much damage it took. I wasn't quite keeping track of the power in this attempt here. But the Umbreon is using Charm, and this is at least helping with the power. Snorlax has to rest if it's going to stay in, otherwise it dies probably, because Rollout locks you in. You can't just click it for one turn. It's a series of moves. It's like a macro. So, turn 36. Zokuru's just going to react to a pretty telegraphed belly drum here. As he uses Haze and comes in. He's still going to take a double edge. Now, we're going to pause just for one moment, talk about one thing. Like, what are both of these players attempting to do? In stall versus stall, you usually want to maintain control of the field with spikes to ensure that you are making progress every time your opponent switches in and out. And this can take a long time. And I'm guessing Iguana has a spinner in the back. That is probably his last. But neither players have spikes here, so that's not really going to matter. And neither player seems to have a strong physical offensive presence outside of their own Snorlax. So if we take Iguana's team, for example, this is something I would call a tempo stall. Like, both players are trying to find a window of opportunity that best suits their game plan to sweep. Drumlax, which was also known as Turbolax way back when, is a premium example of this, where you have a bit of pursuit support in the Umbreon, a little bit of firepower with Zapdos or something like that, and then it's all meant to sort of help Snorlax break right through. And this set is huge because it can, as we already saw, it can break through even its targeted checks like Skarmory. Normally, it would involve a lot more persistence, but in this case, or in this situation, the onus right now is on Zokuru. He needs to maintain his Dragonite alive and healthy, because he's got to be able to set up those reflects when he can. I spoiled the move, I guess. And he has to be able to click Haze. He needs to keep the Dragonite healthy. If he loses the D-Knight, it's over for him. There's no charming a belly drum lax. And the other thing is, the next time Iguana Zapdos comes in, he can force something passive to come inside. So Blissey is really passive, and that's a huge opportunity for his own Snorlax to come in. Or he can force Zokuru Snorlax to use Rest. So in order to avoid that, Zoke knows this, and he needs to be proactive. It's only been about 40 turns, but if he loses just one more Mon, everything can fall apart. So his X factor is the fact that Rollout, while weak at the beginning, is just way more powerful in the late game. And we haven't seen Golem yet. At this point, we probably would have seen something. At least that's my guess. So there's a Toxic, and like I said, I was just a tad too early in revealing the Reflect there, but it's helping. We're going to speed forward just a tad. We do see the Blissey. And we did see a Heal Bell, so Iguana's team is all healed up. Pardon me for skipping. I'm going to try and not skip too much on the not crucial turns, and So and that's some big damage there. That's like a 3-hit KO. It's a solid 3-hit KO. So Iguana does have some wiggle room. But it really is going to depend on how he can duck and weave, and he can kind of just apply pressure. There's a T-Bolt Para. That could be big. Umbreon coming in. And, Haze is high PP. It's a good throwaway move. There's a Pursuit. So we've seen the whole moveset from Umbreon revealed. It's Pursuit. I know I'm skipping steps just a tad, but you're going to thank me later. And there's a Double Edge. A crit could be huge. But Dragonite's going to wake up and use Reflect. And the Snorlax isn't going to be able to break through. And this is interesting. Right, so the D-Knight manages to rest up. And now in comes Blissey. And what are we going to see next turn? We see how the poison on Iguana's Snorlax puts it on a timer. And that's going to make Iguana not want to double back. I mean, he could double back. He could switch to Snorlax on this Blissey. And normally that would be a good idea, rather than staying in. Because right now, the Snorlax is also faster than this Blissey, because it's parried. But with his Lax losing HP, and the fact that Belly Drum is just reactable, Zokuru can just do a bit of switching back and forth. So he's more or less controlling the situation. There's the Heal Bell, so now the D-Knight is healthy. And what's interesting is the D-Knight doesn't have all the moves that you'd normally see. There's Toxic instead of Sleep Talk, but whatever. Anyways, he brings the Umbreon in on the Blissey, because it's the only safe switch, and we do see a Mean Look. So that's the first move revealed on Zokuru's Umbreon. What kinds of insane, unhinged shit was he trying to pull off? I'm not even sure I want to know. So in comes the Lax. We got Lax on Lax. And this is, that's kind of scary. So Iguana's going to stay in and rest, and Zokuru's going to set up and is probably going to click Rollout here. There you go. So without an attack boost, the defense curl is at least letting him start from 60 base power, and then the next turn it's going to do double that. With the fact that Umbreon used Charm, Snorlax attack went down to half, but he crit, and critical hits negate all of the stat drops. So if that crit had happened a turn later, that Umbreon would have gone down. It would have killed, which is insane because RNG is going to be a huge factor. Also, rollout isn't 100% precise. So right now, it's turn 69 and the hit of rollout is at 480 base power. There's only going to be one more turn of doubling the attack. It's usually from 30 to 480, but since he started with defense curl, and look, his attack is dropped to the bottom, and the rollout did half on this Umbreon anyways. It really doesn't care. The one thing is, once you reach 480, so on the nth turn, I think it's like the 4th, then it rolls back down to the base power. So now it's going to do diddly squat. And it's starting over. Pardon me for the battery. Starmie. Yeah, Surf hurts Skarmory, so Iguana's going to go to his Blissey. And there's a Heal Bell. We got Toxic Flamethrower Bliss on Zokuru's team. Toxic Flamethrower is pretty insane. Because whatever you don't poison, you probably hit super effectively with Flamethrower. Now we're at an interesting point because Iguana's Blissey healed the Snorlax, but if you actually pay attention, his Snorlax only has 9 double-edged PP left. If he simply uses them all, he's not going to win. Simple as that. So Zokuru is pretty much playing 2 games here. He's making absolutely sure that if he doesn't win with his own Snorlax, he wins the PP war. Hang on while I make my pasta for a sec. There's a drum. There's a third drum attempt, I'm going to say. Third. Haze just shuts it down completely. But the issue is that Zokuru needs to keep the D-Knight healthy. If it were just Rest Talk, it would have been a little bit easier to come in, even if it were asleep. He's relying on the Blissey to keep the D-Knight healthy. For yours and our sake, I'm going to speed this up to fast. Oh, shit. You guys didn't see any of that. In comes the Lax. Facing Blissey, the Reflect is gone, and that's a scary moment. Double Edge maybe could have crit there. Even a crit after that might have been able to kill. And that would have been huge, because Zokuru didn't have another answer to the Lax. Wow, takes a T-Bolt. Shit, man. I missed that the first time I was looking. It makes you wonder, like, does this Zap not have Hidden Power Ice like crazy? Turn 94 is absolutely a key turn. Because if Zokuru stays in and Zapdos stays in, like, why would you keep D-Knight in on the Zapdos if you know that that's your only answer to the Snorlax? Because, first of all, if it burns 1 turn of sleep, that's still good for the D-Knight. But if he simply switches D-Knight, then Iguana can go to Lax, and the D-Knight's still asleep, and he might be able to win. So it's a very, very risky moment, right? It's a bit of a 50-50. Also, why not Hidden Power Ice? Because Hidden Power Ice would do a truckload to the D-Knight, and it would put the D-Knight within range of a Snorlax Double Edge. And the answer is that he simply decided to stay in because he soul read him. And then he read him again and goes to Blissey. The psychological conditioning and reading the situation like that is just insane. There's another belly drum, and the Lax is excruciatingly low now. He has to rest here. He probably didn't mean to attack. So, Iguana's uncomfortable. We don't know for sure what his last is, so he might want to be sneaky about what that last Pokemon is, but my guess is that the last one is a spinner. If it were something like a physical attacker, by now we probably would have seen it. These turns are going by rather quickly, and he did use up a lot of the double edges from the Snorlax. So this time, Zokuru goes with just a raw dog rollout. No defense curl to boost it. And turn 11, it's already about 120 power. Not about, it is 120. Now it's 240. And the Skarmory is setting up. It's actually trying to 1v1 the Lax, and it's slower. But on turn 113, it already reached its peak of power, 480 this time, because there's no defense curl to go with. That's the cap. So it would just roll back down to the bottom, and that's why, even though the Lax was faster, he switched out. Because once you reach the top, by the way, you are free to click whatever move you want. But, you know, that is how it is. Rollout is a very fun and weird move. Like I was saying, though, we're seeing Rest and Charm. And we already saw Mean Look. Man, that's a diabolical set. Like I was saying, though, the physical attackers that could possibly be in the back, I don't know, it just doesn't make much sense to me. Like, there's nothing holding back a Heracross right now from attempting a sweep. Besides the D-Knight, sure. You know, it is a quad resist, but then there's Marowak. That's another good candidate. That would be a nightmare. Machamp, you know, could give Iguana some room to make some double switches, you know, aggressively. But when do you see a Blissey Machamp team? Actually, I should make one. That would be pretty cool. Sorry if I'm eating. Nothing to see here, just Blissey Lax. D-Knight coming in. There's another Reflect. So I've kind of broken down all the important points about this game. And the Toxic is keeping the Lax in check, even though it doesn't look like it. But every time it comes in, that Toxic reverts back to regular poison and takes about 12.5%. There you go. Just like spikes. So Zokuru is managing to stall despite not having spikes of his own. And now the Starmie comes in, so... Actually, hang on. Things have been developing quite quickly. What am I seeing here? Shit, man. That really flew by fast. When I was looking at it and taking notes, it didn't. But this Snorlax already has 2 double edges left. Now, my money is on the fact that the last move is an Earthquake. Okay? So, whatever he does, unless he tries to hit something that isn't D-Knight, what's he going to amount to, right? The Earthquake is never going to hit D-Knight, and the double edges are just running out. So, Zokuru knows this. He knows that he cannot win without double edge PP. And with one, he's not going to sweep anything. Okay? So, the Starmie is pretty much, you know, they're goading on Iguana. Zokuru is essentially saying, come on, crit me. He knows that without any double-edged PP, he can't win. So he's basically setting himself up perfectly with this PP. It all happened right in front of us, and somehow we didn't see it. You know, by playing dangerously, quote-unquote, with the Starmie, he is essentially telling Iguana, listen, you know, there isn't much you can do here. That lax is at 1%, and there are no spikes to speak of. 7 now, but it was at 1. So the Toxics are also going to be kind of interesting because we have 2 Heal Bell teams facing each other. So Toxic is actually going to be pretty important. Because you only have 8 Heal Bell PP. Let's speed it up a bit. There's another Defense Curl. Is he going to roll out? He's just going to Defense Curl again. Then I'm going to speed ahead. No props. Umbreon is probably going to Charm here. Iguana is going to go to his Lax, try to heal up some HP, knowing that the Umbreon cannot attack. We're still at less than half of the whole game, but it's not quite over. Things are going to speed up from this point on. Defense Curl. This might be the 4th attempt. Turn 157, it's at 120 power. Now it's at 240 power. Next turn. Shit. So this time around, Iguana might have been a bit impatient, or he just knows that he can't stall this thing forever. And he does curse up. He does take a hit or two. But he reacts late, and he's taking more damage than he would like. Because already, it's 35 damage, 35% on a +1 Scarm. +1 Scarm is known to ward off even Drumlax. But the next turn, since the Skarmory is slower, something is going to die, guaranteed. And, lo and behold, the Spinner. The physical attacking Starmie. I'm just joking. So Rollout already took out 2 targets, okay? Charm is not going to stop a 960 base power Rollout, okay? That's why the Umbreon simply went down at 100 on this turn here. Well, not quite 100, but still. It's at -2 attack, and it O-code the Umbreon. And now it's back to normal. That's why I did 6% to the Skarmory the turn after. See how everything can go away in a blink of an eye? Whirlwind. And this is very scary. Very scary. And we saw lots of turns for Rollout to happen. We see that Rollout, it looks like he has 3 PP. The Skarmory is attempting to 1v1. Iguana looks like he might be in the clear. Whirlwind, D-Knight comes in. So, this is going to be a sleep fest, right? Only 3 PP. No, because Zokuru says, by the way, PS is bugged. Do you want my real rollout PP count? It's not 3. And Iguana was pretty sad to find that out, and people watching really wanted to know. And Zokuru says it's actually 23 because you only count the one rollout PP per series of turns. Zokuru really finds the best times to just inflict the most psychological damage. He says, I figured it's bugged, so might as well play that fair. I might as well let you know, since the showdown simulator is bugged and it's not telling you the thing. Yeah, with the pretext of, oh yeah, it's bugged. I'm just gonna rub this in your face. Just gonna teabag you real quick. Sorry, but I know how this man operates. He's a criminal. So at this point, we actually have 23 rollouts and only 19 whirlwinds. So Zokuru is going, like, unless he can KO the Lax, which means he has to keep his team in, really healthy, then, it's eventually going to amount to a rollout victory. And you might also be asking right now, what's keeping Iguana from just infinitely switching and trying to get a tie? He could definitely try to get a tie, but it's not as easy as it looks, because all 3 of Iguana's mons that aren't Skarmory do not threaten Lax in the slightest. So that's just a free rollout turn, and that probably means something's going to die. So he can't infinitely switch, even without spikes. So that's actually pretty insane. This is a pretty insane stall tactic that breaks other stall. It looks like he fell into the perfect matchup, if you ask me, because anything even remotely more aggressive could have been a big problem. I mean, we don't know for sure, because here we are. I mean, it's hard to go wrong with an Umbreon Starmie on a stall team, and then a Blissey. You have a really fat squad there. Starmie. There's another attempt. We're going to try and speed things up as we can. Sub. Zoke knows he can waste as much time as he wants. Well, maybe not quite in front of Snorlax, but I mean, he kind of can. Except if he stays in, we said that the Snorlax probably has Earthquake. He can't quite stay in on a Belly Drum Lax with Starmie. He can goad him into clicking Double Edge, but it's more of a psychological thing. Iguana knows this. He knows that he just needs to take out the D-Knight with one Double Edge, but he doesn't have anything with which to do it. There's a crit, but Snorlax is going to rest up. And Zoke doesn't have to click Rollout. He's just going to click Defense Curl and waste even more Whirlwind PP. And opportunities are becoming slimmer. There's the Diabolical set, but it's not going to work against Drumlax. It works against every other type of Lax, but not Drumlax. It really feels like this stall team is very diabolical. Although Gengar could probably really have a fun time against this team. D-Knight. Hayes. Blissey coming in, not gonna do shit, but whatever. And all Zoke has to do... See, here's the thing. We see that the D-Knight doesn't stay in. We only saw turn 90 where it stayed in. And that was really risky. But he's not going to stay in ever again on this Zapdos. He has no reason to. He already took out 2 Mons. He's in the lead. He is exhausting PP. You need to have some kind of talent to know how to exhaust PP. Have the right win condition to know how to waste the other person's PP. Now he traps the Zapdos, so there is some sort of way to win. He could possibly KO this Umbreon with some crits, maybe. And then from there, he can work his way into the Blissey and then the D-Knight. Maybe. But, you know, this is not to disrespect Iguana. He's playing very diligently. And we're just kind of seeing the effects. There's a lot of switches happening really fast because there's a bunch of doubles, and on the Showdown Simulator, switches become faster the more you double. Or something like that, I don't know. Just gonna click Haze. Empty Haze, doesn't do anything. All smoke, no mirrors. Or no, all smoke, my bad. Just... forget what I said. We're 300 turns in. I'm glad my first blunder is only at the 300th turn. You know, so. Defense curl. This could be a good turn to roll out. No, he's not going to do it. Oh, yeah, he is. There you go. Okay. Number 2. Okay. And this is even more diabolical because at a certain point, right, we did see Iguana stay in and attack the Snorlax. And the defense went up, right? In fact, he clicked 2 defense curls, and the Snorlax was behind a reflect. And Iguana attacked, and he's like, well, hang on. Curse behind reflect results in an overflow, but defense curl behind it does not? And his question is kind of incorrectly made, but essentially Zokuru goes and explains that if your stat surpasses 1024, then it rolls over to a ridiculously low stat. So I don't know, just to lecture another player that is also like SPL level, that's pretty diabolical. He tries to trap there, but doesn't quite pan out. Like, this is just one of the players that I don't want to face in tournament. I'll quit the glazing. Oh yeah, we saw Sleep Talk Umbreon. It happened so quickly. Yeah, but you guys don't care at this point. I'm sorry. So there's another drum. Didn't really matter. They're being respectful, hey. You know, it's not like he's dunking on him. Charm. And this is sort of the reason why you don't necessarily want to bring fat teams, because fat teams do have a hard time of just establishing themselves in a game against another defensively sound team. It's really hard. Now they're just chatting. And it looks like Iguana also gets a little jab at Zokuru, because Zokuru's like, what's that last move? That's really suspicious for you not to have revealed Earthquake up until now. And Iguana's like, well, everybody needs to experience at least one drum-boosted self-destruct lax in their life. And Zokuru's like, yeah, you're right. And then Iguana comments, he's like, well, M-Dragon must have been onto something. And that's pretty funny, because in GSC Invitational 1, I actually covered that match. M-Dragon faced Zokuru, he had a belly drum lax, and then he just used self-destruct on a Skarmory. Just complete overkill. One shot of the Skarmory, and then he sweeped with Heracross. It was very funny. I think it was one. Could have been two, but no, I'm pretty sure it was one. It was hilarious. So it was a small jab there. Don't think I didn't notice that. A bit of friendly banter. And now Zokuru says, I think it's safe. Any last words? Iguana says, so much math in Pokemon. And there you go. The crit probably didn't matter. One shot's the next Mon, gonna one shot the others. And Iguana forfeits and Zokuru wins. And that's just game one. I don't know. I feel like the watch time is gonna tank. I'm gonna cover this other game. I'll be very fast. So this is game 2. Iguana needs to win 2. We got Eggy on Eggy lead, and Iguana switches out his Eggy to Zapdos, whereas Zokuru stays in. And we saw that Eggy on Iguana's side has a Thief, and it steals Thief from the switch-in, and the target was Houndoom. And it happens to be one of those Miracle Berry Houndooms that are specifically designed to trap Exeggutor, which is just so evil. Because even if you use Sleep Powder, it has the Miracle Berry, and you can't put it to sleep. So, and it's just going to deal damage to you, and then it has Pursuit. So it's pretty evil. Steelix comes in on this Lax. This Lax has Curse and Earthquake. And the Steelix is going to boom. Which does expose Zokuru a little bit to Zapdos. Also, he has a Sleep Powder Eggy, but he already put the Zapdos to sleep. But maybe in the late game that can come in handy. Cloy coming in, and we're finally seeing a Spiker. After what was nearly 400 turns of Pokemon games. We finally see one Spike. Houndoom gets roared in by the Steelix. And Iguana looks like he could have something along the lines of a Vaporeon team, but knowing him, I don't think he brings Vaporeon. He doesn't bring the standard teams. He's more of a rogue builder. We did see Fat Bliss. They both had their own idea going there, and they might have played out better in a different scenario, but they had to be very cold and calculated. I'm getting off track, but Earthquake here, and Iguana can set off a boom any moment. Oh shit, okay, so the Lax stays in. I don't want to say or reveal too much, but to stay in on a Steelix that is obviously going to boom at that turn right there, what is your game plan? You already boomed your Licks, you got rid of your Lax. How do you handle Zapdos? And why did you want the Steelix gone? And there is your answer. There's the Quagsire. The little salamander. The one I said at the beginning of this video Iguana was known for using, Zokuru is using. And there's a Miracle Berry Eggy too. So there's 2 Miracle Berries on Zokuru's team. He gets a Psychic crit. Quagsire is known for just coming in on Zapdos. And there's a Hera. And there's no electric on Zokuru's team. No flying type, no electric to speak of. Just pure bug. A bug that is looking mighty angry right now. Going toe-to-toe with this Lax. This Lax could die. But the Heracross is such a threat that Iguana decides to stay in. Then he switches to Gar. And he is the one facing a no electric team. He is the one facing a rogue strategy, at least as I would like to call it. Cloy is free to boom here. It can't be blocked. It's gonna kill something. It might have been nice to go for Surf. Speed tie, says Iguana. And now, with the fact that he switches, he loses his Lax, and now it's down 3-3. But the Quag comes in, and this Zapdos cannot touch the Quag whatsoever. Iguana is on his tournament life, and he's about to face a Belly Drum. He does have an Exeggutor, but it can't handle this Quag right now. And the Zap goes down. Iguana has 5 seconds on the timer. There's a Protect, but no Boom. Thief and Sleep Powder, no Boom yet. Sleep Powder. I might have clicked Psychic there. I don't know. Zokuru brings in the Hera, predicting that Sleep Powder. Now the Gengar is facing a +1 Hera, but the Hera is slow. It's going to die to T-Bolt. No matter. Eggy cannot come in on Earthquake. It has only 12% and no lefties to speak of. So he can't do anything about this Quagsire. He can boom, but that's it. He goes for a Deep Punch. He misses. It's still down to the last Mon. There is Quag and there is Eggy. Zoke going to his own egg. And Eggy goes for Thief. Thief is Dark type, so it does do super effective damage, but it doesn't quite. At the end of the day, Zokuru moves on. And Iguana gets eliminated. Guys, I hope you enjoyed. I took, my evening off to cover this game because I thought it would be special. So I think it was. Now, just take care. If you like it, then consider subscribing. And this is just an important lesson about persistence, having a clear game plan, like Rollout, and I hope you guys learned something.